activity to honor our good friend Ted Pettet. The first thing I want to do is to recognize all the State Farm dignitaries that are here. Well, the State Farm dignitaries, other than Ted. Okay, well, how about if you have a State Farm policy, raise your hand. All right, there we go. Okay, that's good. I only know one State Farm story, so I'll get it out of the way in a hurry. I was watching Dr. Phil the other day, and they was having had a couple on there that was having some marriage trouble. And Dr. Phil asked the lady if they'd ever had mutual orgasm, and she said, no, we have State Farm. That's it. I first met Ted. I signed for the job in April of 1967, April 1st of 1967. And about the middle of April, Ted gave me a call. And of course, Mr. Wagner was the superintendent. Ted gave me a call and told me that Mr. Wagner had told him that I had the job and maybe we should get together. So Ted called me and said, we're taking the track team to the Ray Relays on Friday this week, Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure, probably Saturday. Why don't you meet us in Apache Junction and ride on the bus? You can meet some of the guys that are going to be playing for you. So we did that. I drove to Apache Junction, the bus, the old yellow International with Charlie Flack driving, picked me up, and Ted introduced me to some of the guys. I'll throw some names at you: Billy Hart, Albert Hunt, David Schroeder, Kenny Greenland, Floyd Bain, Fred Henderson, Eddie Taylor, to name a few. And so I got to meet the guys, and that was my first meeting of the kids who would be participating in athletics for me and at Payson High School. Then I wanted to share with you the second meeting. We moved to town, and in about June of that year, we came to town, and Ted said, well, come on, we'll get Lillian and Betty, and we'll go out. Okay, so they picked us up, and we went to the Winchester. And there was David Schroeder and Kenny Greenland and Eddie Taylor. And I said, Ted, these are all athletes here in the Winchester. He said, yeah, they are. And I said, well, do we have a rule regarding athletes in bars at Payson High School? Do we have a rule about that? He said, yeah, they'll wave to you as they go out. And they all did. As they went out the door, that was the rule. If you're in a bar drinking and the coach comes in, you have to leave. And over the years, that rule changed substantially here at Payson. It was kind of like the tobacco rule, pretty much the same way. Some of the guys on the bus were dipping stuff. And I said, Ted, is there a tobacco rule that I need to be aware of? He said, yeah, Charlie makes that rule. And I didn't know who Charlie was at the time, and I said, well, Charlie an assistant? He said, no, Charlie's a bus driver. And he makes them make sure that they have a spit can on the bus. So they're also not allowed to chew. So that was the tobacco rule when I came to Payson High School in 1967. And that rule changed as well over the years, as you probably well know. We also, Ted was, Mr. Wagner again told me Ted would help us find a place to live and all of that, which he did. We went around town, we looked at a lot of places, and finally we found a spot in Star Valley. Now that was good. That was good at the time. Until Aaron Hott came over one day at my front door and told me my dog was eating his chickens. So that wasn't a very pleasant afternoon. I want to thank you for that, Ted. And then I learned what open range meant, living in Star Valley. Open range meant that when you get up in the morning, there's probably going to be 6 or 7 cows in your front yard. And there usually was. So I wanted to thank you for that, Ted. And then about December 17th, as I recall, it snowed about 70 inches. And so for the next 14 days, I had 2 piles in my front yard, 2 piles of snow. One of them my car was under, and the other one my wood pile was under. And Betty and I were melting snow to flush the toilet, and walking in waist-deep snow over to Pete's place. So Pete and Wanda and Bill and Desi were cooking on a Coleman stove. So once in a while we got to have a hot meal. Never saw Ted for those 30 days. So I wanted to thank you for that, Ted. When we came, you know, of course, talked a little bit about the family. The oldest boy, Teddy. Teddy grew up to play baseball for me. He was an all-state baseball player. And went on to came back as a teacher and won a state championship. Jeff played baseball for me as well. Jeff in basketball made the 2 free throws, and with no time left to beat Williams in the state championship. I recall that very well. And of course the twins, Don and Ron. Oh no, not Don and Ron. Don and Donna also were, you know, about this high when we came, and I say that because Ted's involvement in athletics was from the day he arrived in Payson, and he is still involved. He kept my scorebook for me for all the years I coached, about 20, and he was available to help Coach Bradley, Coach Baker, or Coach whoever in basketball. He was there to help if they needed some help. If some kids needed some help with shooting or anything, he was there to help. And track, of course, because he was a track participant himself. The only guy in town that knew how to pole vault. So all of the track coaches called upon Ted to assist them in their sports. 25 or 30 years, I don't know, as a football announcer. The one memorable moment was when John Moose Dreyer picked up a fumble and they headed for the end zone, and Pettet hollered, "The Moose is loose!" That was pretty good. And so anyway, before I introduce our first presenter, I want to ask you, those of you who would rather be watching soccer than being here, if you would raise your hand. Here's one here. Okay, if you will fake a leg injury, you can be out of here. I just, I'll tell you, first hit. The game's on out there. It's GAU is playing GYA. I believe that's Guadalupe and Guacamole. And there's no score after 92 minutes. So that's pretty much an update of soccer. And that'll be the update of the next game. Our first speaker is a guy that I also have a lot of background with. In 1972, is that when it was, Dennis? 72? Something like that. Dennis said to me, "If we don't have wrestling, I'm leaving." And that sounded like a threat to me. So I literally ran up the hill to talk to the superintendent at the time, who was Dr. Matthews. And I said, we got to add wrestling, and we got to add it right now, or we're going to lose Dennis Perch to Gilbert. They had already offered him the job. And so he said, well, what's it going to cost? I said, it doesn't matter what it's going to cost. We need to add wrestling. Well, we did. And of course, the rest is history. I do have one favorite story. When we started, it was kind of on a hope and a prayer. We didn't have it was the second year of a 2-year scheduling block. And of course, all the schedules were made up already. So we had to pick up what we could. And Dennis wanted to know if he could write some letters to some of the schools to see if we could wrestle. I said, sure, go ahead. Help me out there, and then just be sure that the athletic director calls me. Don't schedule anything. We got to schedule it through our office, but go ahead. So he wrote some letters out. One of the letters he wrote was to Blue Ridge High School. And he got a response back that basically said this: Dear Mr. Perch, dear Mr. Perch, we're sorry at the present time our schedule is full. We will not be able to schedule you at this time. Signed, Feral Fish. Now, Dennis was offended because he thought the guy was making fun of his name by signing it Feral Fish. And he brought it into my office in the usual way that he does things, and he threw it down on my desk and said, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I said, what are you talking about? He just said, the schedule is full. Yeah, but look how he signed his name. I said, Dennis, that's his name. The athletic director of Blue Ridge for all those years was Feral Fish. So anyway, he got over it. And then the other one, we started out wrestling with shorts and t-shirts. And we ordered some singlets. Well, our heavyweight was Bob Whittle. And Dennis was handing out the singlets to the wrestlers there. He was all excited about getting them. And he handed one to Whittle. And Whittle said, I ain't wearing that. Then he did. I ain't wearing that. He'd never seen a wrestling singlet. And we started out with 8 guys and lost our first match in about 20 minutes. And 4 years later, we won a conference championship, and about 4 years later, we won a state championship. So all is good. All was good. But so our first presenter is Dennis Perch.